Today on Public Eye News, a home caregiver shortage and a deadly crash in Marinette County.
Later in the show, Brady Hinshaw will have your weather report, and Scott Minshall will be back to give you some sports updates for the day. I'm Devontae Stein.
And I'm Scott Minshall. Welcome to Public Eye News. As COVID-19 cases continue to surge on the WNMU campus and in the city of Marquette, the college is taking precautions in order to limit exposure sites. Starting this week, the Physical Education Instructional Facility, which houses the college's student gym, swimming pool, and rock wall, among other things, will be closed until at least November 16th. The decision for the closure was caused by an increase of cases on campus, according to WNMU spokesperson Derek Hall. WNMU has said they will continue to monitor the coronavirus situation and make any necessary changes they need to in order to keep the community and campus safe. Across Upper Michigan, there is a peninsula-wide shortage of in-home caregivers. The Caregiver Incentive Project, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping solve the shortage of caregivers, will be celebrating National Family Caregiver Month tomorrow night at 6 p.m. The celebration, which will be a panel discussion, will include healthcare professionals sharing stories and helping attendees get a better understanding of the current shortage and how to solve it. Eric Pad, founder and president of CIP, said, quote, "The discussion is a great way to learn from those who live with this every day and encourage everyone to get involved and be part of the solution," end quote.
A vehicle going around the roundabout on US 41 in front of the Meyer gas station crashed their car into a house. The Michigan State Police report that the car first hit a telephone pole before later on continuing into a house. Power was lost for a brief period of time due to the telephone pole being hit. The driver was immediately transported to UP Health System Marquette. There was a second passenger in the vehicle, but they left the scene with very little injuries. No further information on the crash has been released. A Wisconsin resident has died in a vehicle rollover crash. Bernardo Diaz, who was 36, was pronounced dead at the crash site. It is reported that the vehicle was going on and off the road multiple times before finally going off the road, running straight through a power line, then rolling over until the car came to a stop, landing on the roof. The Marinette County Sheriff's Department reported that Diaz was living in the town of Beaver, but was originally from the country of Mexico. This is the third reported traffic death in Marinette County this year. The investigation in the crash is still ongoing, but it is said that drugs and alcohol are said to be a factor in the crash.
Next July, thousands of bikers will be traveling to the UP for a 3-day Harley-Davidson rally. The rally, hosted by the Great Lakes Harley Owners Group, is expected to bring thousands of bikers and Harley enthusiasts to Escanaba in July. This is the first Harley rally in the area since 2010, when there was a similar event which drew large numbers of people. Next year's event will include a parade and a block party and take place July 22nd through the 24th. This week, Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer is recognizing nurse practitioners with a full week in honor of the frontline workers. Whitmer said, quote, "I want to thank nurse practitioners across the state for providing high-quality care to their patients both before and during the COVID-19 pandemic," end quote. Whitmer went on to say how important nurses are in the fight against COVID-19 and how much the state owes to them for their tireless work on the front lines throughout this pandemic. The governor said the best way to thank nurses and all frontline workers is to do your part by wearing a mask, social distancing, and following all of the COVID safety precautions. After this break, we will be back with your national and international news.
That's better.
A passion for bugs leads to a 60-year love story. A traditional ceremony 100 years in the making. And tiny depictions of a bygone decade. 3 stories of time encapsulated. POV Shorts. Legacy.
Tonight at 10.
Welcome back. The stock market was seeing a great success on Monday as the stocks were surging and Wall Street was launched into record heights. The S&P 500 was 3.2% up after the news of a potential coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer said in early data for their vaccine is suggesting that the vaccine may be 90% effective at preventing the virus. Pfizer jumped up 11.1% after the announcement of the possible vaccine. U.S. oil jumped up 8.9%, while the Walt Disney Company jumped up 11.3%. Airlines, shopping centers, and cruise lines all saw jumps due to the expectations of the possible vaccine and people becoming more okay with being around larger groups of people again. While most of the stock market was celebrating massive jumps, not everyone was so lucky. Businesses that saw booming rises at the start of the pandemic are now seeing sharp declines. Zoom Video saw a massive 13.5% drop. Grubhub saw a stock drop in 10.5%, while Etsy, the online marketplace, also saw an 11.5% drop. We're learning more about the first priorities for the Biden-Harris administration. The transition team rolled out its website and social media over the weekend. Today, President-elect Biden will start his COVID task force. CBS's Deborah Alfarone is in Washington with the latest.
President-elect Joe Biden isn't wasting any time preparing for the White House.
Our work begins with getting COVID under control.
Today, Mr. Biden introduces his coronavirus task force.
That plan will be built on bedrock science. It will be constructed out of compassion, empathy, and concern.
Former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy and former FDA Commissioner David Kessler will lead the group.
Joe Biden is going to make good on his promises on the campaign trail.
CBS News has learned President-elect Biden is expected to unveil a series of executive orders on his first day in office. They include rescinding President Trump's travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries, reinstating the DACA program, and rejoining the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement.
This is what the American people voted for. This is what they want to see.
President Trump has yet to concede the election while his campaign pursues legal challenges in several battleground states. Many elected Republicans are supporting his fight.
Do not concede, Mr. President. Fight hard.
But legal experts say the campaign's arguments lack evidence.
Even if they had merit, which the vast majority of them do not, they wouldn't result in the overturning of the election. They might result in a few dozen ballots here or there being thrown out.
President-elect Biden is ahead by about 45,000 votes in Pennsylvania and 10,000 votes in Georgia. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
More and more countries across Europe are imposing coronavirus restrictions as cases in the continent continue to surge. The most recent countries to add restrictions, Portugal and Hungary, have causing spreading at an uncontrollable rate. Although some positive news out of countries that have been in tough lockdowns, as it's shown the restrictions are working to slow down the spread of the virus. As a vaccine seems closer and closer to reality, government leaders are assuring their citizens an end may be in sight. The World Health Organization is urging leaders in Europe to work together on lockdown measures, as unity will be key to defeat the spread of COVID-19. An incredible collection of photos from the Apollo space missions and the golden age of space exploration is going under the hammer. It includes a rare photo of the first man on the moon and the first selfie taken in space. Riley Carlson reports from London.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Videos from the Apollo 11 moon landing and astronaut Neil Armstrong's first steps are iconic.
One giant leap for mankind.
But when it comes to many of the still photos, Armstrong isn't in them.
Most of the astronaut photographs that you see from Apollo 11 are of Buzz Aldrin.
This photo is one of the rare exceptions, a shot of Armstrong at the spacecraft near the end of the mission. It's expected to fetch nearly $40,000 at auction.
And this was forgotten about in the aftermath of the successful mission. And it was only rediscovered in the 80s that there was, in fact, a photograph of Neil.
James Hislop is overseeing the Christie's Auction House online sale of nearly 2,500 photos from the space race era and beyond. Selfie enthusiasts will be over the moon for this. That's Buzz Aldrin on a 1966 Gemini mission turning the camera on himself. All the more impressive when you consider the conditions.
Also under incredibly difficult circumstances in the near vacuum of space, in clumsy, awkward astronaut outfits.
Managing the mission and snapping the shots that still captivate us to this day. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
2020 has taken another great one away from us. Legendary Jeopardy host Alex Trebek dies at the age of 80. Trebek announced back in 2019 that he was battling an advanced stage of pancreatic cancer. He passed away in his home surrounded by all of his loving friends and family. After Trebek announced his cancer, he was determined to keep hosting Jeopardy while undergoing treatment for his cancer. Trebek became the host of Jeopardy back in 1984. Trebek also won 5 Emmy Awards as the host. He has stars on both the Hollywood and Canadian Walk of Fame. Trebek, who was born in Canada, obtained his U.S. residency in 1997. Rest in peace. After this break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
The crackdown on Chinese Muslims.
The number of people that can be held is unprecedented.
Frontline goes undercover to trace the missing. and exposes a next-generation surveillance state.
The combination of cutting-edge technology and brutal policing methods to control a population.
China Undercover.
Tuesday night at 10 on WNMU TV.
And welcome back. I'm your weatherman, Brady Hinshaw. Behind me on this beautiful NMU campus, we can see some blue skies, but some gray clouds coming in. But looking at our current conditions, we have partly cloudy skies with a temperature of 68 degrees, winds out of the south at 18 miles an hour, and a barometric pressure of 29.81 and falling. Looking towards tonight, we have rain with a low of 44, winds out of the west, southwest at 16 miles an hour. Looking towards tomorrow, we have more of the same with rainy skies, high of 47, winds out of the north, northwest at 19 miles an hour. Looking at our beautiful UP, it's a mix of cloud and sun. But looking at Sault Ste. Marie, it is 69, 61 in Manistee, 60 in Manistee. Looking at our western half, we have 73 all the way down in Menominee, 70 in Iron Mountain, 68 in Ironwood, 72 in Houghton, and back in beautiful Marquette, it is 68. Looking at our week ahead, we have Wednesday, a high of 42 and a low of 32 and mostly sunny skies. Thursday, a high of 50, a low of 28 and mostly cloudy skies. And Friday, a high of 35 and a low of 27 and mostly cloudy skies. And on to Scott Minshaw with the sports.
Thanks a lot, Brady. The sport of NASCAR may have found its new star as one of the youngest drivers to ever win a championship has just done so. Chase Elliott, at only 24 years old, just won a NASCAR Cup title. Elliott has been one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR for the last few years and has made an epic comeback to win the championship this past weekend. After his car failed a pre-race inspection, he was given a penalty that pushed him back to the rear of the pack to start off the race. Elliott raced his way back to the front and eventually took control of the championship, securing the title for himself. And another week of NFL action is wrapping up, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are still undefeated. The Steelers have had success so far this season, but many sports writers and fans alike are questioning whether or not the Steelers are a real deal team. This weekend, they faced off against the Dallas Cowboys and were being beaten until late in the game when they were able to put up a few touchdowns to give them the lead that would eventually win the game. While some may look at this as an impressive comeback, it's very easy to see it as a loss for the Steelers in the sense that they were heavily struggling against the extremely injury-heavy Dallas Cowboys. Staying in the football world this past weekend, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish upset the #1 ranked Clemson Tigers in double overtime. Immediately following the game, the Notre Dame fans in attendance stormed the field, causing concern for players and coaches on both teams, as we are still in the middle of a global pandemic. Notre Dame's coach, Brian Kelly, warned players the day before the game that when they won, the fans would storm the field. He told his players to exit the field as soon as possible after the game, as cases of COVID on Notre Dame's campus are currently rising. Well, Devontae, that's all I have for the sports world, but I hear there's some other interesting things going on.
Yeah, I got one more story for us over here, Scott. People cooking chickens in a hot spring out in Yellowstone are in some hot water right now. Park rangers found word of the group who was doing this. The rangers found 2 chickens in a burlap sack sitting in the hot spring. Eric and Dallas Roberts were ordered to serve 2 days in jail and pay up to $540 in fines. Eric Romero paid $1,250 in fines. All 3 of the group are banned from Yellowstone while they all serve 2 years of probation. And one more story, this alligator just wants to get an education like everybody else. A Florida school had a small alligator appear on its playground. Everglades Elementary School alerted deputies who came in and rescued the alligator to release it into the wild, but before that, they named him Everglades. The alligator was 4 foot 6 inches long, and ironic enough, Everglades Elementary School's mascot is an alligator. And that's all the time we have for you today in Public Eye News. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you again tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.